The time has come. The event I've dreamed about. The event I cringe when I miss it. It is Superfest, one of the biggest toy shows in Japan. Superfest has been running for decades and is a must-see for all toy collectors. The line starts to form outside in the early morning as the crows caw at daybreak. Not only are toy collectors lining up, but soft Fubi art collectors as well. A lot of special event only figures are also being raffled off. I am shopping with Jurgen from Weeding Toys of Norway. I have a hookup to get in early, but we have been delayed with our contact and can only get in an hour before the general public. It has been a while, but the scene is unchanged. There's a charm in this that the place is always looking and feeling the same since the first time I stepped in. I have hopes to find some unique items like I had in the past, but these are different times. I'm excited, but I'm trying to not let that run wild. The location is in Kitanomaru Park, which was the grounds of the northern part of Edo Castle. If you take the train, you have to walk up the ancient steps of the castle to get to the toy show. The show itself is strange because the layout is in a circle. Again, I'm sorry on the videos being stolen. I had taken a lot of footage of the show and was very excited to present this in all its full glory. The first item we come across was a seller just pricing a loose train bot set from Transformers. We notice that the head is clear orange, which is from the second series of Diaclone and are very tough to find. But the rest of the set is Transformers and first series Diaclone figures. This is our first test to see how prices will be at the show. The full retail cost of this set is roughly around $550 if the guy knows that it's the rare clear variant. Previous shows this may have been around $200 $350 for sale. The guy finally turns the toy around, and it's $750. I then bump into a seller shortly after that I've known for many years. He says hello, he's excited, and he presents to me an original Star Wars Takara 1979 store display. These are stickers that would have been attached to the outside of the windows of a toy store. I have never seen this piece for sale before or even pictured in someone's collection. It is incredibly rare. I don't think a lot of collectors in the Western world even know this exists. He hooks me up with a fantastic price for this piece and my first purchase of the day, and it's a killer item. At the same booth, a friend of his was selling Diaclone toys. So Jurgen picked up a box Die Attacker from Diaclone for a really fair price. I picked up a loose Ravage from Microman for $18 and a set of 3 pullbacks from Diaclone for $130 with no drivers. I located another seller who's still setting up. This guy always brings in some really rare items, and I was not disappointed. He had a rare lottery prize Beast Wars Leo in gold chrome, but it was $8,000. Behind his booth, I can see a few pieces that were not put out just yet, including some Diaclone Dinobots. I still need a few of these personally in clean boxes, but when he showed them to me, they came out to around $1,500 US. I found a seller selling Battle Beasts. Battle Beasts are actually not popular in Japan, but my holy grail for Battle Beasts is the blue drill vehicle. And I search for it every Japan trip I take. It is the last production toy I need. I think of it every trip I take to Japan. It is the number one thing I'm looking for. I did a quick search and there was no rare laser beasts and of course no drill. But the prices were roughly $20 a complete figure. I grabbed a Cobra and an orange gorilla variant. I also found some Ninja Turtles Mini Mutants, loose complete. These range between $15 to $35 a figure, and each bag of figures was about $55. So that was a great price. I called over Jurgen to come over, and then he bought some loose Battle Beasts as well. One seller had an incredible display of original 1960s and 70s soft Fubi Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and they're just something I don't personally collect, but I always stop to take a look at them because they're beautiful. But the top of this kaiju mountain was one of the best pieces out there, and something I personally actually would love to have. Kame Bazooka. Now, this is an expensive piece. I think it came down to about $15,000 US. The story behind these figures is just absolutely lovely and amazing. Pretty much in a quick nutshell, this is a villain character from Kamen Rider that was produced for the Jumbo Machinder line. Now, Jumbo Machinder is a term that's loose for all like 2-foot tall robots. And we got a lot of those in the West as Shogun warriors from Mattel. In Japan, they were never going to produce the villains. They just produced them for store displays only until people whined and they wanted to buy them. So they're incredibly rare, even though they got produced as toys for a short time. And the way this character just looks, his face, the colors, I actually really think it's a really cool piece. And unfortunately, I let one go many, many years ago for $800, a little bit of repair on it, and look at it now. So I'm just one of those spectators who like to stare and say, that's cool, and then I move on. The show opens in 15 minutes to the general public. Here is a seller with some amazing rare vintage toys. I don't collect any of these toys, and I really have no idea what I'm looking at, but I know that they're very hard to find based upon how everything's set up. They state that nothing is for sale until the show opens. Yet we find a box Transformer Scorponok under the table. And then I ask on it, they say, oh, it's on hold, which again completely goes against the not for sale until the show opens sign. This gentleman has a very large display of original Transformers and Beast Wars and so forth. A lot of interesting items here, especially a lot of non-Japanese exclusive G1 items. A lot of Pretenders and Micromasters and Action Masters were never released in Japan. His prices vary, but he has a lot of stock, and he probably does very well at this show. A lot of the show looks like this. This display, how it's set up, lots of vintage stuff, lots of new stuff. I don't even know half this stuff. It just looks amazing, and I want to collect all of this. You just get this bug within you. You just want to start buying stuff that you don't need. Look at that kaiju. I want it already, and it was larger than most kaiju that was there. Pick your poison pill. Ultraman, Kamen Rider, vintage, new stuff, Sentai, everything's here, even gashapons from the last 20 years. One seller was selling a lot of imported items from the West, so tons of G.I. Joe here. Look at this, an original Action Force poster display. Things you didn't expect to find still show up in Japan. It's just exciting because you never know what the next booth is going to have. Look at this wonderful booth. An Scuda Alien Hobby Kit. Big Duo from Big O. Yes.
Lord have mercy. What the hell's going on here? These two need to get a love hotel. I always knew these heroes were into tentacles. Why does it always have to be tentacles in Japan?
We have some original Macross model kits, which I personally don't collect, but I love Macross. The artwork is just to die for. This booth has some stellar, interesting items. And again, it's a mishmash of new and old, and your eyes have to scan everything or you're going to miss something. Did you see the Machine Robo Gobot Snoop in the Japanese package right there? I did. It was Ichimongo Sennen, which is came out to roughly around $100. I asked for a discount, which is Watabiki, and I got it for around $90 or $85, which is a great deal. I'm going to probably resell that after I compare it to my own personal collection, if it's better or not, for around $160 in the U.S. This is an amazing booth full of lots of Megazords from Power Rangers. They even had a Predazord, which I look back and it was a really fair price. Normally I would have bought that. I do regret not buying it at this point. Lovely, lovely design, especially this 1980s Megazords I can't name. I would need that one for the collection still, but I just kept holding off on things because I just didn't want big box stuff because I'm always worried about shipping. Sailor Moon vintage piece, including the Sailor Stars pocket versions, pretty uncommon. More Macross model kits, which again are just beautiful, but they're very common in general. This is a bootleg Diaclone Multi-Force rubber figure. Some crazy stuff in Japan that even I'm just like, I have no idea what the hell's going on here. Wonderful layout of just more stuff. You have Zoids Jr. Kong in the far left. As I said, you just have to keep going through stuff and analyzing it, making round after round. They have Jackie Chan, My Story action figure with Baywatch. Very intriguing stuff from the 90s. And fair prices. Lots of stuff just put together. You get to really have a keen eye. There's Captain Power, Planet of the Apes, and then just Japanese knickknacks, small items like Rika-chan. Lots of little miniature figures from the 80s and 70s, old store stock. I thought the knockoff here was really interesting. The bright colors, really amazing artwork behind the crappy toy. And then there's Stick Bang, which was created by an idiot from a family of idiots. You take the stick, you raise it over your head, and swipe it down. It makes a clack sound, which is really pathetic. But it has this really cool knockoff Star Wars artwork to it, so people kind of have interest in it at time to time. This booth looked like it was mostly anime statues, but there was an original Inspector Gadget from Europe sticking all the way back there. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. It was a fair price, too. I think it was $300 US. Now, this booth had an amazing assortment of G.I. Joes imported from the West, and I examined the roadblock from 86 to the left, and there was something strange about it. It was only $120 on a really, really clean card, and I was like, you know what? Rule number one, when in doubt, buy them out. And yes, if you notice the package, the Real American Hero is missing off underneath the G.I. Joe logo. This roadblock is an Australian release with a special insert that was released nowhere else but Australia. And that was a killer deal. I have no idea what it's worth, but it's very, very difficult to find. And then there's crash test dummies and Japanese cards, and I should have picked those up because they were just cheap. But as I said, I was in the wrong mindset because of the shipping issues that are cooking around right now. So again, just booths are jam-packed. There's some wonderful Sentai robots here. Lots of loose Transformers. You gotta dig through this stuff because you can find some gems, 100% sure on that. I found a number of stuff in the past, so you always have to dig. Even if it's newer stuff, you know you're going to still find a little bit of vintage tucked away in there. Now, booths like this, it looks like it's all going to be just like 1960s and 70s randomness. Nothing robotic, nothing Sentai, nothing Transformers, but you gotta look. A booth just like that, maybe the same seller years ago, they had a Takara My Little Pony Pinky, which is exceptionally rare, for $2 100, because if you know, you know. Again, right time, right place, right knowledge, and you will succeed. This gentleman had an entire booth dedicated to candy toys of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and this stuff is just, it's a pleasure to look over these pieces. I know very little about some of this stuff, and to see just the dedication, the love behind organizing, setting up, and seeing all this, just, it was exciting. There's a friend of mine who'll be working on a book for the public, and I'm thinking about picking those up and selling them in the States so people can learn more about these strange and unique candy toys of just. The rest of the show I continued on with my friend Jurgen, and we just bopped around, looked at the booths, looked at really cool stuff, and just kept on grinding away, going in circles and circles, and still finding new stuff. There's a seller that I know that brings in tons of bootleg stuff from China, stuff that you just rarely ever see outside of these countries, and it's just fascinating. And as well, he is producing books where he documents all the crazy knockoffs that he's encountered over the years, and I'll be bringing some of those books over for sale as well. They're just, again, just such dedication to these. I'm envious, to be honest with you. Now, most of the soft food sellers are in the first room that you walk into, but there's a couple sellers sprinkled throughout the entire show. And this gentleman had some, well, let's just say some very interesting soft food creations. And to be honest with you, the Snake Girl still haunts me. I should have bought it. It's just absolutely a nutty piece that makes absolutely no sense, but it's just really cool to look at. The cats that are there laying there sleepy, all cute and everything, yeah, you pick them up and yeah, that's underneath them. Other than that, with the show, I try to look at some of the Pokemon stuff that was early on when it was called Pocket Monster. I like to look at early Super Nintendo stuff, like Mario items that are from the 80s and 90s, but the prices just, they're all over the place. I'll pick up like a Super Mario World like shampoo with a little miniature figure on it from 1992, but the seller would still want $60 US. It's hit or miss these days, but it's still just fun to just take it all in. These were extremely popular in the 80s, just like Yakuza styled, I guess, looking cats. It's one of those things you start getting used to, like the crazes that happened in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Pink Lady was a very famous music duo from the 80s, and they sold anything and everything that you can imagine to kids back then, and this stuff just keeps popping up. This seller had a booth of really interesting items. There was a Machine Robo Rock Lord's Fossil Lord unused, but again, it was like $450. These used to be like $200. And then again, like, are you going to get it home? Are you going to get it back in really mint shape, or is the boxing going to get destroyed? It's a tough call. But they had some wonderful knickknacks down below, and they're about $8 each, $10 each. And in there, I found some Japanese Sega Pocket Power. Yes, you guys remember Pocket Power from the late 80s, early 90s time? Those were amazing. I had the helicopter, and just to have a nice, wonderful sample with the Japanese artwork, I picked up the hovercraft. And then there was a special, I believe to be maybe a Australian or at least Japanese, very hard to find multi-pack for the final series of Micro Machine miniature transforming heads. Wonderful hand-painted Gigantor, gorgeous Mazinga Z. And as I said, you just got to keep looking and digging and just seeing what these people have to sell, because you're going to miss stuff on the first round. And, again, pick your poison. Everything is here, and even if you don't even collect toys, you're still going to end up finding something you're going to like. Currently popular is the 30-minute Build-A-Figure girls. They're all pre-painted, and they're just making tons of these things, and they're nicely done. It's just, if that's your cake, go for it. Soft Fubies. There are so many gorgeous and interesting and creepy and just zany. I learned a lot about soft Fubies on this trip from Jeremy of Toy Bonsai and just the ins and outs of it all. But again, if you like this stuff and you find something that you like, buy it. It's just really great stuff. I regret that Snake Girl. I really do. The snapping turtles were just absolutely to die for. The color schemes, everything. And again, this really creepy Jabba figure. So what I've learned is if you keep looking at soft Fubi, you will start collecting them. Lots of magazines from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I couldn't find anything that was toy related from TV Magazine. But we did find this seller who's always been there for many years who would sell lots and lots of loose Shogoken, Sentai, and Transformers. He didn't have as much as he used to, but I did find a Venom with both weapons and a Dino King shell. And they were like $28 each, so you can't go wrong with that. But we bopped around, lots of more interesting items, things that we don't collect, but it's just, again, fun to just see and walk by and explore and learn all this amazing stuff. There was a Gegege no Kitaro Cisco Award, it looks like. Now, again, I don't collect this stuff, but I can spy with my little eye some unique and rare stuff like that. So I took a photo of it just, like to remember. I did find towards the back end, the final area, was a gentleman with 3 train bots from Transformers. One was an original Diaclone with the driver, and one without the driver, and a Transformer version, which you can tell by the rub sign on the top. They were $25 each, roughly. That's the prices we were talking about. So it was interesting that the first booth that I hit roughly had a train set for $750, and towards the end I got some train bots for a great price. So I continued on, and I found some interesting items, which were converters produced by Mark originally of the camera, the Colt gun, and the binoculars. Now, again, these were produced in the 80s by Mark, and these are brand new keychain knockoffs, but really, really high quality. I've never seen these before, and the guy wanted $10 each for 3 of them. So I bought 3 sets. That's all he had, and I think they'll do really well with those. And I will, of course, keep a set for my personal collection. But that was nice, fun stuff to pick up. And we kept popping around. Some more fun stuff to look at. These were adorable. One gentleman had original Kenner prototypes. That's correct. prototypes are Planet of the Apes. Now, there was going to be originally a cartoon that was planned in the 90s, and these were going to be the action figures for that cartoon. But the whole cartoon and the toys were canceled, and these are completely unproduced. Did not expect to see that at Superfest. So towards the end, I picked up this little free run giveaway sheet since the entire set. I don't need this stuff. I really enjoyed free run, and it was cute, and it was $8 for everything. And in the end, it was a really smart move because it gave me clear folders. So when I picked up stuff throughout the trip, I was able to store fragile shirashi, small posters, and trading cards and other things protected in these sheets. So that was really not smart of me on the side note. And then at the very end, because we were on a time crunch, because we had to go to another event that started at 4, I had to leave early with my friend, but I did stop off this one booth one more time that had the original Sentai Power Rangers Megazords, and they had a very fascinating and very rare Men in Black ramen cup noodles, still sealed in the original package. Now, this is just absolutely fun stuff. It's incredibly rare, but it's just stuff I don't personally need. But when I looked underneath it, yes, it was the Wild Force Gao Ranger, as it is known in Japan, Black Megazord. Now, in Japan, they produced a number of the Megazords for a couple of years in alternate colors, mainly black at times, and this was never released outside of Japan. It was absolutely mint, dead stock. It was sealed. It is the last booth we're at for the day, and I was like, dude, I'm going home with a nice Power Ranger piece, and I do need this for the collection. And I got them down to $300 for it, which I thought was a really, really good price, especially for a piece I'm not seeing at the Mandarake stores. And that wrapped it up. And usually I stay longer, pretty much till show closing. I've helped people break down, but we had to go, as I said, and it was still a very nice show. I didn't leave with like bags and bags of toys like I had previous years, but I definitely picked up some really, really unique items, and that made me happy. Of course, no blue drill. But after that, we carried on back to our hotel, and we got prepared for
carrying a shrine on our back. Yes, it is the time of the year of the Mikoshi Shrine. A lot of temples in the various parts of Japan are bringing out their shrines to carry their deity out from the temples. We met up with our other Norwegian cohort, and we should have known something was up when we had to sign release papers. The shrine was heavy, and if you're tall like us, you carried the weight on your shoulders while everyone else was just hanging off of it. It was extremely memorable, but it was taxing on your body. And there was an after party, but I just crashed after this. And thus ended the Superfest and the Super Festival.